a big, bulky conglomerate, which frankly I'd struggle to see if anybody could understand, to maybe becoming a much more simpler business with some attractive businesses in there, especially, the aviation business we think is a fantastic business. And so we kind of see them on the journey towards getting to be a little more simpler, and, there's probably one or two businesses in there which are very attractive. But given everything which has been happening, we also wanted to get a better understanding of, what liabilities are out there, and whether, this transition towards becoming a new, more focused, industrial company can actually happen, or whether they're kind of, just really hamstrung by the legacy liabilities. So I'm doing some work on just understanding those liabilities, which are there. And a big part of what they've already disclosed was the errors they had in, reserving their for their long-term care products, right? So really wanted to just speak to you and understand that part of it. And that's really where I'm coming from. So I've got a bunch of questions on that which I'd love to go over with you. And before that, I would love to, just kind of hear a little more about your background.
Perfect. So I'm by training an actuary. I've been in the industry 30 plus years. I've done work on life, annuities, long-term care, long-term disability. I've done pricing and reserving work. I was the appointed actuary at TIAA when I was responsible for the regulatory cash flow testing. We increased the reserves we were holding on long-term care. This goes back about 15 years ago, because we had already observed then that the trends and the ways in which people had priced it weren't, let's say, going to stand up to the long-term test. And the work we did that led to the increase in reserves actually resulted in TIAA making the decision to sell the long-term care block of business. Then this goes back again about 15 or so years ago. I've also done a lot of work in the regulatory space and a lot of work in the reinsurance space. So that's me in a nutshell. Right now, my primary focus is I'm working on predictive analytics, and I'm the chief delivery officer at a firm that is selling predictive analytics software to the life and annuity industries. So I'm happy to elaborate more on my background, but that's very, very high level, me.
Great, Martin. Thanks so much for that. That's really helpful. And I think so. Yeah, it's really just trying to understand that long-term care space. And so if we start off with, so we've seen the massive reserve increases which GE has taken recently from their legacy book. Could you just start off by talking about, let's say, what were the key assumptions, right, which the insurers got wrong, right, in pricing these policies and reserving, which has led to, these reserve increases?
Okay. So there's this, excuse me, I'm sorry. The sad thing about the pricing of long-term care insurance is that it's almost easier to answer what did the insurers get right than what did the insurers get wrong. And the reason I say that is because when you look at what the insurers got wrong, for starters, they got the interest rate assumption wrong. So long-term care is a long-term liability. So if you assume a 5% interest rate and really interest rates are 2 or 3%, that's huge. The next thing the insurers got wrong is the lapse rate. Are these types of policies, maybe not the ones issued more recently, but the ones issued traditionally, like 15, 20, whatever years ago, if someone lapsed, they gave up all their benefits. So it was very profitable for a company for someone to lapse the policy. If you price it assuming 5% of the people will lapse, and then less than 1% lapse, you have a big, big problem. So that was problem number 2. One problem, interest rates. Problem number 2, lapse rates. Problem number 3, is